In an interesting move over the weekend, the Cleveland Browns decided to part ways with defensive tackle Sheldon Richardson, and this sent ripples throughout the Browns community. It was, I don't even know if it's controversial or polarizing, because I just haven't heard a lot of people saying like, hey, this is a great decision. Most on the positive side that you will hear is people saying, trust Andrew Berry, trust the regime and everything like that. But nobody is outright saying, man, that's exactly what the Browns had to do, was get rid of Sheldon Richardson. So it's not a popular ideal. It's not a popular move that the Browns made, but it's one that for whatever reason they felt like they had to. Now, why did this move go down? And is this truly the end of Sheldon Richardson in Cleveland? Well, we're going to talk about that. But before I do that, I want to make sure you guys hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, ding that notification bell so you can be notified. Also, want to make sure you guys are locked in here and subscribe so you don't miss the draft coverage next week, right? I'm going to be streaming day 1, day 2 of the NFL draft. If you don't want to miss that, hit that subscribe button, ding that notification bell so you don't miss it. It's going to be a lot of fun, guys. Check it out. And also, I got to give a shout out to the patreon.com dog check tier members. And as always, I start with Michael Matique, the most dangerous man in Cleveland, DJ, Marino V, Cleveland Cart, Matt H, Greedy Shoulder, Gemini, Liam Freeman, Fight Dirty 74, Yo, Matt Lloyd, Paul Wilcox, Hundo, Magnifico, Rob Ferron, Kyle Stouffer, Lukey from Munich, Deveroff, J Guy 101, Musty Taco, Joe Bobby, Brad Cabo, Dylon W, James McGinty, Arinda Hall, Rex Kaufman, Chad Gimme, David Maldonado, Andrew Sadeo, Dylan Hill, Josh Bendor, Jalil Salim Jr., Martha Crustnut, Mark M, TJ Showman, Stuart Moore, Bubbo Regretti, Anthony O, Cleveland BCI, Robert Jermaine Jr., Dave Mike May, John Cummings, Andrew Hirsch, Curtis Bear, Batman Rush Sharir, Barack Kumar, John Albert, Beerman 069, Masayua, Buds of Roland, James Nemo, Mac House, Reeve Hurst, Philip Wilcoxon, Marie Vivert, Keith Anderson, Sean Barron, Goggles Pizzano, Corporal Nick Lopez, Don Godzillo, Nick Nasty, Ian Williker, Colin 216, Anthony Latham, Christian Matt Bond, Dave Strong, Michael Stone, Soul Train, Charles Work, Billy, Michael Holdenack, Moose Gentry, Austin Z, Mark Burnett II, Andre Griffin, Otis Wolf, IT Rex, Greg Ehlers, Austin Boland, Kirkegaard, Jesus Serrano, Chris Fawn, Pickdown, Browns Backers, Mark Kahn, Johan Hulf, Kevin Johnson, Max Aldojo, and Water Bear Marketing. Again, guys, thank you for the support. It means so much to me. Again, I thank you so much for that. Now, let's talk about Sheldon Richardson and the impact of his release. Now, as I said in the intro, the Sheldon Richardson release was not a popular move. I don't think in the locker room. I don't think anywhere, right? Nobody really saw the need to release Sheldon Richardson. You can argue that for cap reasons that they had to, but anybody who's citing that the Browns had to do this or that the cap demanded they do this, they're going to have to show me some like sources at this point, right? Because we've seen that the salary cap is very malleable, and how the Browns were able to get things done this year with all of the void years and the years that are going to be coming off contracts next year and the year after that. It seemed like they had more than enough space to operate, sign all their draft picks without having to release Sheldon Richardson. It seems more like they viewed this as they signed a replacement for Sheldon Richardson at a cheaper price, and that Sheldon Richardson would not be worth it at his price because of the lack of playing time he might get. That's what this release seemed like to me, more than it seemed like they were just trying to free up some cap space, because at this point, who are they freeing up cap space for? And again, I'm not trying to doubt Andrew Berry or say that Andrew Berry's not good. I did a whole video on how good Andrew Berry is, and that still stands exactly what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that if this team were like so thirsty for cap space, like David Njoku getting his 5th-year option guaranteed into this year, that probably wouldn't have happened. He probably would have gotten released before that date hit. So it's not like this team's been making moves that would suggest that they're cash strapped or worried about the cap space, because their 3rd string or 2nd string tight end, again, is making like $6 million, when that was an easily avoidable cap hit to miss out on if they really wanted to. So I don't think this is a we need the money kind of situation. I don't think that's true at all. But the other thing we need to also talk about is that this release really isn't final, right? We've seen this with the Steelers. We've seen this with other teams all the time, where they'll release a guy, let him see what he can get on the market, and then that guy can come back to the team and negotiate if the market's not biting. Now, I do think there might be a good market for Sheldon Richardson, given that there are no defensive tackles that can do what Sheldon Richardson does, or at least does what Sheldon Richardson does as good as Sheldon Richardson in this draft. Like, maybe you got Christian Barrymore, but Christian Barrymore is more like a Larry Ogunjobi than he is a Sheldon Richardson. So at this point, I think Sheldon's probably gone, but he can come back. They left on good terms. Sheldon likes this city. He likes this organization. And I think he would be willing to come back if the Browns could meet his number. What that number is, though, is going to be an interesting question, because if all signs suggest that the release of Sheldon Richardson wasn't really about cap space as much as it was about them adding pieces to this defensive line and not really seeing him as a fit, then that makes me wonder how much money they'd be willing to spend for somebody whose role that they have kind of dispersed into other pieces on the roster. I myself personally would not have wanted to see Sheldon Richardson released. I also would love to see him come back. I am always in favor of having the most robust defensive and offensive lines that you can possibly have. Overkill is just enough when it comes to those positions, because right now 1 or 2 injuries can really just tank the whole thing. And I know you can say that with almost any position, but when it comes to defensive line and offensive line, you want to make sure you have more than enough to withstand these things, because you can't just allow these things to be in disrepair. So that being said, my personal opinion is that Sheldon Richardson, the Browns should find their way to get Sheldon Richardson back on his team. I felt like a restructure maybe was the solution, but not a full outright release. Now, what does this mean as far as the Cleveland Browns and why they released Sheldon Richardson? Again, I'm not going to use the quick out that they did this for cap reasons. I don't think they did this for cap reasons, because they didn't have to do it for cap reasons. What this could mean, though, is that you're going to see a lot of Clowney on the inside shoulder. Now, I kind of brought it up in my video that you're going to see Clowney inside the shoulder of a Takk McKinley, inside the shoulder of a Myles Garrett, because what Jadeveon does, and I'm going to drop a film breakdown later this week, what he does best is attack that inside shoulder of offensive tackles. And if you put an offensive tackle in a situation to where they got to worry about both shoulders, because Myles does everything at an elite level, but the one thing he does at an extra elite kind of unblockable level is bend. And if you put a offensive tackle in that situation where they got to worry about one of the best inside rip guys in the NFL, also have to worry about one of the best outside bendy guys in the league, that's going to be a rough situation to go in. And Takk's the same way. He's obviously not the monster that Myles Garrett is when it comes to bend, but he has a strong outside shoulder bull rush that he likes to use. So that being said, and the Browns running a 4-3 most of the time, it looks like they're going to play Clowney inside a lot, or at least have Clowney play more inside end than he's going to be playing outside end when it comes to certain alignments. Also, you have to look at the young guys on this roster, right? Jordan Elliott, I said this when the Browns drafted him, when people were looking at him as a Larry Ogunjobi replacement. I always felt like Jordan Elliott was the Sheldon Richardson replacement, right? If you look at what he does, his size, his skill set coming out of college, it's a similar thing to what Sheldon Richardson brought to this team. Now, has he capitalized on it yet? No, he has not, but he's also only in his second year. And maybe Andrew Berry, being that he drafted Jordan Elliott and felt like he was a great pick, might see that role opening up for Jordan and trying to find out and trying to open up some roles for some young players who are going to be making less money. I think he thinks that he can get that same production from a Jordan Elliott than he can from Sheldon Richardson. Now, that's a gamble to make, and maybe he sees somebody in this draft, which I'm going to talk about later. Jordan Elliott's obviously going to get a bigger role. And also, you have to remember, Malik Jackson does a similar role to that. So it's kind of insurance to make sure that if Jordan Elliott's not producing, then, you can put Malik Jackson in there, or you can put Malik Jackson alongside him and still do some of the versatile pass rush things where you can put Takk, Jordan Elliott now, Malik Jackson, and Myles out there with Jadeveon as the blitzing linebacker. You can still do things like that. So that's interesting, right? And I think ultimately that's what this decision came down to when it came to Sheldon Richardson. I thought Sheldon would stay this year, but I thought next year was definitely his last year, or at least he would be cut after this season. I'm surprised to see it happen now, but it looks like what the Browns are going to do here. And, I'm not trying to say this is a good or bad thing. I'm not casting judgment on it already because I haven't seen these guys on the field really that much. But it seems like he's betting on Andrew Billings, Malik Jackson, and Jordan Elliott, guys that he picked and signed to kind of fill in this void. And again, to be fair, right, if you're looking for what Sheldon Richardson brought to this team, a good pass rushing defensive tackle, well, you drafted Jordan Elliott to be that. So it would make sense that as Sheldon Richardson gets older, you're going to want to replace him. I think it's a year early to do that, me personally. But again, that's what they're going to do with. And also, you have to keep in mind Malik Jackson. That's exactly what Malik Jackson does well. A good pass rusher at the three technique position. And when you talk about stopping the run, which is something I have harped on, the truth is that Jadeveon Clowney is a better run stopping three tech, even out of position, than Sheldon Richardson is. And that's not really a disrespect to Sheldon. It's more of a respect to how well Jadeveon does play the run, no matter what position he's placed in. He plays it very, very, very well. Top level kind of elite stuff that he does against the run. And you can have Andrew Billings, who's bigger, physically bigger in those run stopping downs if you want to. You could add the extra beef and length with Malik Jackson or whatever it is that you want to do. You can still do a lot of the versatile things. It's just you're going to be relying on Jordan Elliott to get playing time this year when, you had more of a sure thing with Sheldon Richardson. Again, it's not a decision that I love for this year. This is a decision to see what you have in Jordan Elliott, to see what you can get out of Jordan Elliott, because I don't know if they're going to draft another deep tackle. I don't see a ton that they would like out there, but it just seems like what they wanted. It seems like what they want to do, and we'll see. Again, Andrew Berry, he drafted Jordan Elliott. A lot of you guys like Jordan Elliott. I didn't love the pick last year, but we'll see what he can bring, if he can develop, and if he's ready to go this year. It's going to be interesting to see with him. But that's it on this video about Sheldon Richardson and his release from the Cleveland Browns. Let me know your thoughts about Sheldon Richardson, a player who had been tremendous the last 2 years, somebody that I respect a lot on this team and hopefully can see come back. But for the time being, this is no longer on the Cleveland Browns. But again, after the draft, we'll see what happens with that. But again, guys, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Have a good night.